Hey, what's up, guys? So let's talk about LMFA today, and this is actually a pretty good follow-up to my last video on MBOT because I had some questions from you guys. You wanted to see a little more detailed of the process of just looking through the filings, and LMFA is one that actually structurally looked pretty similar to MBOT on the surface, very similar share counts. And we had the big gap up this morning. We had news. So it may seem reasonable to say, oh, LMFA, I think this is going to be the next huge runner. But there was one key difference in here that we will walk through really quickly, and you can get a better idea of what I mean when I say I'm looking for something dilutive, which will either make me more interested in the short or scare me away from the long. So LMFA, here's the daily chart. We'll look at the 1 minute chart here. And it doesn't show the pre-market action on this 1 minute chart, but you can see we had a little bit of morning spiking. I mean, we were as low as 240 in the first couple of minutes, got up to a 310 high. And now we are down under that initial low of the day. And, my guess is probably more fade the rest of the day. That's what the odds would dictate, at least from what I've seen historically. But anyway, LMFA, let's just get into the filings. So it's gapping up big pre-market. It hits my radar. And let's just get back to the 3-month chart here, because I see big gap up, and I look at the daily chart, and I see these couple of levels back here with big volume, the 240 area, and it was breaking past 240 pre-market. So it's reasonable to think, okay, this is kind of a multi-day breakout on the chart now. It's up past the last couple of big volume days. So next question becomes, what is the share count? So, I mean, you can go to the Edgar website. I go to otcmarkets.com. You can search the ticker on otcmarkets.com. I've just already done it here. Go to the disclosure tab, and there's all these filings. So usually the quickest way for me to just get a rough idea of what the current share count is I hop into the last 10Q, the quarterly statement. So I pop into this LMFA 10Q, and it tells me that they had 2.3 million shares of common stock outstanding November 13th, 2018. So great, good starting point there. I have an idea that this is a pretty low share count. So now, otcmarkets.com, I go back, and I'm looking through recent filings, and I want to see if there's one that would be an offering, something where they recently issued shares and what level those shares might have been issued at. This is what I mean when I say I'm looking for something that's currently dilutive. And if I don't find something here, usually I just go through the 10Q really quick to make sure I haven't missed something. But in this case, at the end of October, they had a form 424B4, which means something was done. So I pop into this, and here they talk about this million units they issued, and then 1.5 million pre-funded units. And so you just read the details of that really quick, and you can see that each unit had 1 share of common stock and 1 warrant to purchase 1 share of our common stock at $240 per share. That's the key number there, is $240 per share. And then this 1.5 million pre-funded units also, I believe, was a $240 per share. Let's see. Yep, $240 per share for each pre-funded unit. So right there, we've got an idea that there's some warrants, and they're $240 per share. Not a huge number, though, because this was just 1 million units and 1.5 million units. Now, I just like to scroll down here, usually a few pages into the offering. There's this fun little section with some details I like to see right here. The offering, this big box. And here they talk in a little more detail into what they're offering, what exercise prices are. But one thing I note here is it says that the common stock outstanding prior to the offering at the time was 600,000 shares. And that after the offering, it's expected to be 3.1 million shares if the underwriter exercises in full its option to purchase additional securities, that 1.5 million. So that means that given our 2.2 or 2.4 million share count as of that 10Q when it was issued, there's still some to go. That means there's still some warrants outstanding that haven't been exercised, because we haven't gotten up to this 3.1 million share number yet. And also this handy little section down here just tells me anything else that is basically exercisable. I mean, here's another 2.5 million shares of common stock issuable upon exercise of common warrants offered hereby by us at an exercise price of $240 per share. So I mean, that's a pretty significant number. So we know that $240 per share, that's a level where dilution can occur. where warrants can be converted into common stock. Basically, it creates more sellers in the stock, and these people who are exercising their warrants, they're not going to turn into buyers again after they do this. They're going to take their profits and they're going to move on. I mean, that's the whole point. They want to make money on this deal. So 240 is gravy for them because that's their level where they can just basically break even on their deal. Anything above 240, they're making a profit. So I know this is there. And this is the difference between MBOT and LMFA, because MBOT didn't have anything currently dilutive like this. I caused a little confusion on MBOT, and I wish I had been more clear, because when I was saying in that video, oh, I'm looking for something currently dilutive, I mean in the moment. Like the second the market opens, warrants could be converted, like LMFA here. That doesn't mean that they can't issue shares from a previous S1 or S3 that's gone effective. And, some of you were asking about the recent S1 that MBOT had filed, and, that wasn't effective yet. No, like they need to file effect, and then they need to file, whatever form after that to actually issue the shares. But they had an old S3 that was effective already, and they issued shares from that, as we saw the next day. But I have news alerts for stuff like that. I'm going to get a pop-up if one of those suddenly goes effective and shares are issued, or if shares are issued from an old one. I'll get a pop-up alert the second the filing is put out. And then, I'm still going to probably end up having to chase a little bit of a move, but at least I will get the news fast. So I kind of it's maybe a lazy approach, but I always assume something could go effective at any moment, or that the shares could be offered at any moment. So if I am buying one of these things, I still am doing it with extreme caution, and I'm usually pretty scared to hold overnight. But for something like the MBOT trade, I was more thinking in the very moment, something where a news alert wouldn't be issued and maybe warrants are getting exercised or an at the market offering is getting used. But I divert a bit from the point of this video. Back to LMFA. So LMFA, I see something like this here, and this makes me a lot less interested in, basically buying it. I have to watch the volume. I have to see how it's acting. Now, one danger with a stock like this is you can get very biased. You can say, oh, fundamentally, yes, there's something there that can dilute. And then next thing you know, you're getting squeezed. And I did have issues with this morning because I thought a couple of times I saw big stuff moves and tried to short with high a day risk and got stopped out. I mean, basically, this thing opened up, tapped 283 and slammed back to 240 real fast. And so into this rebound, I think I took my first short in the 260s with this 283 risk. And I did get stopped out here, and I actually stopped out a bit late. I stopped out closer to 3, almost at the top of this wick right here. So that was a really bad first short. And then it slammed back again off of that. And I was like, oh, I'm a dumbass. I stopped out high a day. So I shorted into the next rebound again in the 280s. And again, was looking for, this high day to hold. And had to stop out again when this one broke out again by like 3 or 4 cents. But these moves kept getting stuffed. And when this one especially stuffed really big volume, that's when I was like, okay, again, I stopped out. I was an idiot. I got faked out. But, you kind of have to be an idiot. You have to be safe. So then I tried it one last time into pops. I did like that it was a huge volume candle on this break attempt. All in all, between those 2 morning shorts, I lost about $12,000 or $13,000. But now I am reshort again, and I have more size than I had on either of those. I've got, in one account, I've got 20,000 shares from the 280. Hang on, let me just pull it up. I'm not even sure what level it's at. My order box. So yeah, I have 20,000 from 285 about, and then in Cobra I've got 15,000 from 271-ish now, because I've been adding into pops on the way down. So I've got good size shorts on this now, but I wasn't quite patient enough on the short entries, and that's why price action ultimately is what matters. I've seen ones in the past where yes, there's warrants, but the stock can continue well below the level of the warrants if the volume is there. But as I like I said, as I was seeing this giant volume pre-market, knew it was a low share count, all that, I still was nervous because I knew there could definitely be additional sellers in this thing this morning. I didn't sit back quite long enough and really confirm it to be backside of the move. I gave it like 3 minutes and I started trying to hit it, and really it needed more like 10 or 15. And I do this a lot with day ones where they gap big and they start to spike. I feel like I usually find myself taking a loss or two pretty early from getting over aggressive and then making it all back later. But for now, I think this is pretty much dead. Again, I just wanted to break down some of these things I look at, though. In this case, it was pretty easy because there was a 424 before here. Very recently, I could find that quickly. But even, let's say there hadn't been something like that here, and then it's just back to the 10Q. And I start searching words like warrant or convert or at the market, little phrases that might find me something in the 10Q very quickly, and just alert me to whether there's something convertible or not, something that, again, in that very moment, like right from market open, dilution can begin. So hope this clears some of those details up, and hopefully, I haven't taken any profits on these reshorts yet, so hopefully LMFA does what I expect and continues to fade, and maybe I can at least get back to break even on this by the time I close the trade out. But it shouldn't be too hard. If I booked it all right now, I think I'd be up a little bit on it. So we'll see if I continue to get that fade. But hope this is helpful to you guys and further explains a little bit what I'm looking for in the morning on these low volume gappers, and what makes me want to buy versus maybe want to short. Good luck, guys.